On this week's episode of Nikon's Birding Adventures TV, I'm in the Chobe region of Northern Botswana. This mosaic of floodplains, mixed woodland and rivers is not only home to the largest concentration of African elephant in the world, but it's also home to over 450 different bird species. In fact, the diversity of birds is so great here that 300 different species have been recorded in a single day. On this episode, we hope to not get too distracted by the abundant wildlife as we go in quest of our golden bird, the African Pygmy Goose. Let's go birding. Botswana, in the heart of southern Africa, is well known for having some of the best wilderness areas in the world. With a full 38% of its land devoted to wildlife conservation, the country has the feeling of moving through an immense nature wonderland. Botswana is a rarity in our overpopulated, overdeveloped world. Untamed and untamable, it is one of the last great refuges for nature's magnificent pageantry of life. Experience the stunning beauty of the Okavango, the vastness of the Central Kalahari Game Reserve, the otherworldliness of the Machadi Pans, and the astoundingly prolific wildlife of the Chobe National Park. Botswana is one of Africa's birding hotspots and represents the last stronghold for a number of rare and magnificent bird species, including wattle cranes, Kori bustards, pygmy geese, secretary birds, and Pell's fishing owls. Get ready for another birding adventure from Botswana, the heart of southern Africa. One of the best things to do in the Chobe region is to take a boat cruise, either a sundowner cruise or a morning boat cruise on the Chobe River itself. The Chobe River begins its journey right in the Angola highlands, nearly 1,000 miles away, makes its way all the way down into the Linyanti region and then across down through the Chobe River itself until it reaches the Zambezi River. This is a fantastic way to explore the region's waterbirds, herons, fish eagles, and a whole host of other birds here along the river, but also a great opportunity to see wildlife from the boat itself. Hippos, crocs, water monitor lizards, even elephants and other big game right from the boat.
My name is Mundu. So then what I do the cruise for the next 3 hours from now, upstream Chobe River, and we're heading down to Chobe National Park.
This is a massive water monitor here, the second largest lizard in the world after the Komodo dragon, and yet not 20 feet away from this water monitor, right here on the banks, is a Nile crocodile. And water monitors will actually feed on Nile crocodile eggs and baby Nile crocodiles. So one of the most efficient predators, the water monitor over here, and another efficient predator, the Nile crocodile, both in competition with each other, not only for food, but for each other as food too. One of the special birds of the Chobe region is the long-toed plover, otherwise called the long-toed lapwing. And there's a group of 4 of them right behind us here in this flooded grassland on the island on the Chobe River.
brilliant experience here, watching long-toed plovers or long-toed lapwings right here on this island in the Chobe River here. Hippos right next to us grazing in the open here, just sticking out like sore thumbs. Crocodiles on the banks here. We've had this big thunder shower come in, just like it does in Africa so often. It rains for 10 minutes really, really hard, and then you get this beautiful, beautiful light as all the animals come out and all the birds come out. It's absolutely brilliant here right now on the Chobe River. Wow. One of the things you'll notice when you look at hippopotamus is that you'll see that all their senses are uniquely positioned right on top of their head. Their sense of smell, their eyes, and their ears. So they can smell, they can see, and they can hear with their entire body submerged in the water. So they know exactly what's happening on the surface of the water with all three of those senses while their entire body is underneath.
One of the quintessential sounds of Africa is the cry of the African fish eagle. Fish eagles are incredibly common along the whole Chobe River floodplain, right up into the Okavango, and it's probably the most numerous large bird of prey that you'll find here. This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, the world leader in optics since 1917. And sponsored in part by the Botswana Tourism Organization. And sponsored in part by Chobe Polarized Sunglasses, the world's best polarized sunglass. And by Coleman, legendary, quality, innovative camping gear. Of course, it's the crack of dawn here in Kasane, Botswana. And we've been staying at a wonderful place called Mowana Lodge. This morning we're heading out on game drive with our good buddy Chris here, who's going to take care of us. And we're going to go out, see what wildlife we can find and also what birds we can look for this morning. Let's go birding.
What gave this area to be called Chobe?
Yeah.
It was Choba before,
Okay.
meaning to push, like when
Okay,
you're riding
Choba.
a bicycle. Yeah.
It means to work hard though, right?
Yeah.
They worked hard for the park and we're
Yeah.
going to work hard for the birds. Bee-eaters are found in many parts of the old world, but nowhere are they better represented than in Africa. And here in the Chobe region of Northern Botswana, you can find 6 of the different 26 species found worldwide. Bee-eaters are characterized by their down-curved bills and their propensity for hunting flying insects, especially bees, and also by their bright colors. Most bee-eaters have the color green in them. But there's one particular species of bee-eater that is arguably the most beautiful of all, and it doesn't have any green. It's the carmine bee-eater. And there are actually 2 different species of carmine bee-eater, the northern carmine bee-eater and the southern carmine bee-eater. But there are very few birds in the African bush that are more beautiful than the southern carmine bee-eater. Just got magnificent light here on a blue-cheeked bee-eater perched at the top of this dry tree. Blue-cheeked bee-eaters are strongly migratory. They come down to southern Africa in the summer months and then they'll return to equatorial or northern tropical Africa during the winter months. Blue-cheeked bee-eaters will nest communally with another strongly migratory species, the European bee-eater. And here we've got white-fronted bee-eaters.
And they're going off sallying forth, catching insects. They'll feed predominantly on bees, but also butterflies, wasps, and any other insects that they can catch on the wing. You'll notice what they'll do with a wasp or a bee is they'll beat it and they'll actually carefully remove the sting and then they'll swallow it.
Of the 26 species of bee-eaters, the little bee-eater is among the smallest. This tiny little bird is also amongst the most numerous of all the bee-eaters in Africa. In fact, it's estimated that there are approximately 80 million individuals of this tiny, enigmatic little bird. This has been an extremely productive
game drive, and here we've got a rare bird, uncharacteristically in a tree, because this is a southern ground hornbill. And these birds have become increasingly rare in southern Africa. They're part of an Africa endemic family, and there's only one other bird, the northern ground hornbill or the Abyssinian ground hornbill, that comprises this family. Quite uncharacteristically, this bird is alone, because normally they're found in groups 3 to 4 to 5, and they have these little clans where they'll go about on the ground looking for lizards, feeding on insects, feeding on just about anything that can fit in those oversized bills. One of the unique aspects of this bird is its eyelids. You can see it's got those eyelids that stick out very, very strangely, because this doesn't happen in other birds. So it's actually got these protruding eyelids, and that allows them to get protection from sticks and shrubbery as they make their way through the thick African bush. And you know the African bush, there's lots of thorns, so that's going to protect their eyes, which are very, very important for them finding their food. Definitely one of the strangest birds of the African bush, the southern ground hornbill.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, the world leader in optics since 1917, and sponsored in part by the Botswana Tourism Organization, and by Audubon Guides, nature at your fingertips.
This Birding from the Edge segment is brought to you by Nikon, manufacturers of the Edge line of optics.
So we've just got back from game drive here at Mowana Safari Lodge, and something dropped off on me from the bushes while we were driving. And it's a little baby flap-necked chameleon. This guy has been hanging on for the ride of his life, and he truly has been birding from the edge. One of the more productive sites along the Chobe River close to Kasane is Mowana Safari Lodge. The nearly 40 hectares of property here, both river frontage and mixed woodland, is excellent for a whole variety of specials, and is one of the only places to find a very unique bird in southern Africa, the collared palm thrush. We're going to spend some time looking around the grounds here for some of these specials. Let's go birding. Right here, in the tree behind me, collared palm thrush. You see him? In the tree behind me with the reddish tail. I can't believe how common and confiding this bird is here, right around the rooms at Mowana Safari Lodge. The best place to see this bird in southern Africa. If you go elsewhere, like to East Africa, it's a really tough bird to find, collared palm thrush. It's not easy. Whereas right here, they're very, very tame, obviously used to the people walking around. Collared palm thrush, yes. African paradise flycatcher over here, beautiful male. You can see that bright red russet tail and that nice blue cere around the head. African paradise flycatcher, one of the most beautiful birds in Africa. We've got a nice thick-billed weaver here, or as it's now called, grosbeak weaver. And these birds are just masters at constructing nests. The males here, especially with the thick-billed weaver, will actually build the nest perfectly between two reed stems, and that nest will have a nice chamber inside, and it's protected from predators. It's normally over water as well, so that nothing can get at it. My mate Adrian's just shouted up that there's some heartlob's babbler here, another special of this area. Let's get a look right here. You got it, Adrian? Heartlob's babbler are a tough bird to find anywhere in southern Africa. A really tough bird to get on film well is the swamp boo-boo. And here at Mowana Lodge, we've got one on a nest, which makes it a lot easier. It's just a hive of activity here, so many specials. One of the best we've just found right now is brown firefinch, and it's actually at a nest. Here, bringing in nesting material. Brown firefinch, a very, very tough bird to find anywhere else in southern Africa. Just been viewing babblers, brown firefinch, we've been seeing collared palm thrush, and right above us here are cardinal woodpeckers hard at work excavating their nesting chamber in the tree above me here. Here you can see the female hanging upside down, just going right inside the hole and just pecking away, excavating that hole and getting it ready for egg laying.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, the world leader in optics since 1917, and sponsored in part by the Botswana Tourism Organization, and sponsored in part by Wingscapes, manufacturers of the bird cam.
Really? The Chobe Game Reserve is a mosaic of mixed woodland, grassland and pan systems. It's about 700 square miles and it is chock full of wildlife, especially elephants. And if we look around us here, you can see a lot of dead trees, a lot of uprooted trees, all caused by the conglomeration and the overabundance of elephants in this national park. This is why you come to the Chobe, the largest concentration of Loxodonta africana in the world, the African elephant. There are thousands of these animals in the Chobe floodplain. And in the dry season, they'll often congregate along the riverbanks. But when it's rainy, like this, at the end of the rainy season, they're dispersed because there's so much to feed on, so much food, so much water everywhere that you never know when you're going to come across elephants. And this is a prime example, absolutely fascinating here in this Zambezi teak woodland. Right behind us over here, we've got a mama hippo and a little baby, probably only 2 months old. And they're right out here in the open. Mom is feeding and the youngster's just kind of following mom along. You'll notice that the mom's very protective. She tries to keep her body between ourselves and her little youngster. Little hippos are probably most vulnerable from the age, obviously, of birth up to about 6 months, when, you know, they can be targeted by lions, they can be targeted by crocs. So the mother hippo is going to be very, very protective during these early months. We're out looking for one of the smallest ducks in the world and one of the most beautiful, the pygmy goose. Our strategy this morning is to take a Land Rover down onto the Chobe River and try and search the channels of the Chobe River for this very, very shy bird. Let's see what we can find. Our strategy looking for this pygmy goose this morning is to drive along this flooded bank here of the Chobe River. We're going to be scanning very carefully in this flooded grassland. This is perfect habitat for African pygmy goose here. Just missed pygmy geese flying off from this flooded channel here. Whew, man, they are shy birds. We've just come up here and immediately, the moment we stopped, bam, those pygmy geese took off. Just stopped the Land Rover right next to these pygmy geese here, and in typical African pygmy goose fashion, the whole lot of them, there must have been 5 or 6 of them, all took off in a flock. Here they're coming back again. We may be lucky. Here they come back again, all flying past us here. Oh, they've gone to land further up down the channel. So what this means for us is we've got to be super stealthy when we approach them. So we're going to try and, I can see where they've landed just further down the channel. We're going to try and stalk them and try and get some good looks. Wow, that took some driving up and down here. But right behind us here in this flooded channel of the Chobe River lies one of the smallest ducks in the world, the African pygmy goose. Now, there are 3 different species of pygmy goose worldwide, and this is, without doubt, the most beautiful. The smallest perching duck in the entire world, the diminutive African pygmy goose. I've got them right behind me here. If we look closely at them, you'll notice that the male is superbly colored. Got a bright green patch on his face, that nice white head and white neck. What a spectacular bird. The female next to him, not as brightly colored. The interesting thing about these African pygmy geese is that they'll nest in trees. Just like the wood ducks of North America, they'll nest in a hole in a tree. If you look at their bills, you'll notice they've got very unduck-like bills. Their bills look more like geese, hence the name pygmy goose. But this is certainly not a goose at all. This is the smallest member of the perching duck family. That's our golden bird, the African pygmy goose, right here along the Chobe River of Botswana. Yes!
For more information on birding and travel in Botswana, log on to the Botswana Tourism Organization website.